All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is 1 o'clock Pacific time here on Wednesday, October 21st. Before we jump into our session, I want you guys to give me a quick update in the GoToWebinar chat there. And I do have updates from DSK Housing Solutions as well as Deanne and Devon, so thank you for sending those over early. The rest of you, if you would please just take a quick moment and right here in the chat, go ahead and tell me what you've been up to. And I got to tell you, you guys have been very busy. So keep those coming. Aloha, Don. Welcome, Darrell. Don, welcome. Keep those coming, guys, and I'm going to give you about 2 minutes, and I'll be right back. Okay. I got to tell you, you guys are in a very, very good group, let me tell you, because we have some very, very active members, which is really exciting. And welcome, Dennis. Dennis is joining us from 35,000 feet. So, Dennis, I assume that you have logged into the plane's Wi-Fi, and you're probably listening to us through your laptop's headset, which is very cool. Gotta love technology. And it's also a great thing to be doing that when you're sitting there. I love Wi-Fi on a plane because I don't feel like I lose an entire day when I travel. So that is phenomenal. Okay, a couple of things here. Let me pull up my webcam. And while that's happening, let's see what we've got. Okay, Darrell says, letters are steadily going out. We are receiving calls and making offers. He says we will be submitting better offers now that the PC was approved. Good. Don Hodge, aloha, Don here. How's everyone? New member joining. Welcome, Don. He also says, we have been busy in our biz and looking forward to meeting everyone. Rick says, Rick from DSK here, and Denny is listening for 35,000 feet too. You hopefully have our activity report. I do. I'm going to show that here in a moment. Victoria, welcome. 50 letters, 266 phone numbers, 70 calls outbound, lots of activity on inbound from Craigslist and probate outbound calls, one contract which we discussed. Good. Mark got home Monday from the funning tour, awesome time, joined a new RIA, obtained a cash buyers list to do a mailing. Great. And all right, good. Okay, now let me share some of our other attendees. And joining us here we have Daryl, Deanne, and Devon, Dennis, Don Hodge, Don Bundy, Darrell Jones, Mark Aikman, Rick Andrews, and Vicki Coleman. So our November class is shaping up to be a great class, and I'm excited for it. Okay, let me go to the, here we go. I'm going to be doing some work with you guys on the Elmo here, as I have a lot of offers that are being written and being out as we're wholesaling a bunch of stuff. And if time permits, I'll share with you a little fun eviction story that we discovered as I was in court yesterday dealing with a tenant that just does not seem to want to go. This is a property we acquired at foreclosure auction, and she just does not want to get out. Okay, I want to share this with you guys. This is the update. Yellow shaded area represents the report issued for the week 2 call on 1020. Updates for today's call 3, 1021 are offered for review and read. So this is the DSK group with Don and Rick. And I think it's Denny, is that right? Let's see here. Yeah, Dennis and Don and Rick, that's it. Good, okay. So guys, this is the report that they're sending out. Now, I don't require this, but certainly it's good for you guys as a team to be keeping track of this stuff, and I think that this is really good for those of you that are doing where you have partners or a spouse where you can kind of hold each other accountable through this. But anyway, they say 25 yellow letters went out on Friday, October 2nd. 2 additional groupings of 25 yellow letters, 22 pre-foreclosure letters went out. 200 letters are out over the past 4 weeks, and then the phone calls made specific to leads out-of-state strategy. 6 are dead, 4 reached with no interest, 2 numbers on service, still active 19, left word or in consideration. 65 calls made to bird dogs. Then they have networking appointments, and I have had conversation with them about Dossier Capital Group and some other networking projects. And that's the other thing, guys. I had conversation with Don and Rick. I have reviewed contracts for Darrell and Daryl. I had a contract from Vicki Coleman that came over that we were talking about on Monday of this week, or maybe it's Tuesday. You guys have just been very active, which is really, oh, you guys don't, thanks. Let's see. You guys should be seeing my screen. Let me make sure you're seeing this webcam here. You guys should be. Oh, there we go. And share. Thanks, Deanne. There we go. Okay. So now you guys should be seeing this. There we go. Okay. So this, again, here's the top of the report. And then you can see they have their mailings covered. Then they have their networking appointments covered. Then we go to the next page. And they have a project being worked since their last call. This is their project summary. And then here's another project that they're working on here. Okay, so this is a great little report. And then I got this email from Deanne and Devon. This is great. Said, first of all, thank you for allowing us to attend. And then they go into their report. So sent 50 out-of-state owner advocate letters, preparing some offers, negotiations, due diligence, contract closing soon. Then they go into networking, auction, talking with Regan tomorrow, good. and then broker is working on getting his license hung with some brokers. So keep up the good work, guys. I'm pleased to see what you got going on. Okay. All right, so I'm going to run through our PowerPoint slides here, guys, and then I'm going to go into, we're going to write some offers live here today, and then I'm going to share with you several deals that I'm working on internally, what those offers look like so that you can see real bullets that I'm shooting here. Also, Dave Bianco is joining us. He just arrived from New York last night. Dave is a previous Inner Circle member student that is also in our mastermind group. So glad to have you here as well, Dave. So our third mandatory pre-call for success. Again, guys, this is coming up on November. You guys will be out here. Hopefully you have made all of your travel arrangements by now. As we will be starting on Wednesday morning. Okay, so Wednesday the 4th, you guys need to make sure that you're here. So get here Thursday, and if you guys get here on Tuesday the 3rd. And if you guys come early, that's fine. If you want to come out to the office, that's fine. We are happy to have you come hang out here, but the event will be held at the DoubleTree Hotel in downtown Spokane. There is a shuttle, and you do not need to rent a car. Okay, you guys, if you fly into Spokane International, take the shuttle to the DoubleTree Hotel downtown. I will be picking you up and carting you around in the sweet Kogo van, so you guys don't need to worry about renting a car. But if you are going to come out to the corporate office, you would need a ride to get out here, so you can Uber it or get a cab or whatever you want to do. So we've talked about pulling lists, direct mail campaigns, the logistics, the science, the packaging, the dialing for the dollars, the appointments, deals to look for. Now, as we get closer to our time together here, guys, which is just about 2 weeks away, make sure that you bring your lists, make sure you bring your dial list, your phone numbers, because we will be having a session of making outbound calls. And we will be starting that at about 4:30 on Wednesday evening, so that we can make sure that our East Coast members can get their list, which it'll be 7:30 there on the East Coast. Now, you guys will be joining me for dinner. On Wednesday night, we'll be providing lunch and dinner on Wednesday night, lunch on Thursday, lunch on Friday, and then I'll have some other announcements for you guys when you get here. Day 3, it is my intention, guys, for us to be going to the auction because we will be, it's getting darker earlier here. We will be driving our auction properties on Thursday day, where we would normally do those Friday mornings, simply because we've been seeing a pretty lengthy list of auctions, and according to my crier intel, meaning those that cry the sales for the trustees, we are anticipating a pretty heavy foreclosure load in November. So I'm hoping that we'll have many opportunities to bid. I will also be taking you through several of our projects that we have going on here already. Some that are in the beginning stages of construction, some that are almost done, some that are staged and being shown actively, and I even have some now that are under contract. They're sold. Just had one go under contract over the weekend. We bought it for $62,000 at the auction. Took us about 45 days to get it ready. It went online last Thursday, and we had a higher than full price offer on Saturday. So we were on the MLS less than 72 hours. So I will show you guys that when you get up here as well. Now, again, my expectations of you are to be open to change, be action-minded, listen more than you talk, be ready, willing, and able to change your opinion based on the new information you'll receive, readily admit when you're wrong, ask questions, absorb, 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 and most of all, keep it up when you get home. So again, it appears that many of you are hitting the numbers, which is really encouraging. And I also know that some of you are joining us here. This is your first call, even though it is our third call of a series of 3, which means you missed call 2 and call 1. Buffy, who is also here listening with us, Buffy does all of our education fulfillment internally. Make sure that you get with Buffy so that she can send out to you guys the recorded calls from session 2 and session 1 so you can get yourselves caught up. But this is what we are sticking to. This is the rule of 56 with the letters, the outbound calls, the networking, and you got to make sure that you are writing offers. So what have we done since our last call? Guys, letters have been mailed, calls have been made. I actually have written several offers on some properties that I'll share you with here in a moment. And we're going to talk about meeting the client as well. Okay. Now, related to knowing the property before you call, the number of bedrooms and baths, the style and type of construction such as brick and ranch, whether it's built on a basement slab or crawl, when the kitchen and bath were last updated, types of flooring, carpet, hardwood, or other, the ages, the types of fuel used for the heating system, and be sure to find out if all utilities are on the house. Now, just so we are clear, this is not something that you would know or be familiar with as you're making the initial call. This is that you are going to be familiar with when you make the appointment for the follow-up call, or you're going out to meet with the seller. Now, some questions you should be asking when you're on the call or meeting with them in person. First of all, how long have you owned the house? I don't know how long they've owned the property. Secondly, why are you selling? We talked about this just last weekend in Charlotte for the the funding tour. It's really important, guys, the story. What is the story behind the property? What is the story behind the sale? And we've got to know why you're selling. Is it probate? Is it absentee owner? Are they facing foreclosure? What's their motivation? What is your asking price? Now, to illustrate these questions, let me share with you guys this deal that we are working on currently. So I'm going to go over here to the Elmo unit. Now, this is a deal that came out, interestingly enough, as a result of the big Kogo van you guys will be writing in shortly. It's a pretty obnoxious Kogo van, as you can imagine. But here is the initial notes. So a woman comes into my office, drops in, sees the van parked in front of the parking lot here at our building. Sees the van, comes in, name is Jeanette, okay? All she leaves is the address, and it is 2332 West College Avenue, okay? So let's quickly now go over and pull up 2332 West College. And for this, the first place I'm going to go, I'm going to pull this down here. One of the first places I always go, guys, is Zillow. Now, say what you want about Zillow, but it's great for some initial information. I will not buy or sell anything based on what I find here, but it is a great tool for initial information. And I'll tell you this too, guys, a day is soon coming where you will use Zillow and its valuation tools for buying properties at sale, buying and selling. They are doing a much better job in getting the information. Okay, now here is the street that the property sits on, right here. So you can see it has a fair market value of 95, and then there's another one over here that we're looking to buy. Now, what's interesting about this area right here, you see all this vacant land. When you come out here, you'll see this isn't vacant land at all. It's a huge housing development. And these houses are now selling into the 230s, 240s, 250s. So this house here is just one block over from this area, but prior to this area being developed, this is what's known as felony flats. So when you guys come out here and we're driving, you'll say, hey, Lee, is this felony flats? Yeah, this is, because this is typically where when people get out of prison, they get stuck into halfway houses here that are owned by a bunch of landlords and slumlords and these types of people that charge by the month. It's month to month. There's no deposit. You pay, you stay. If you don't, you go, kind of a thing. So it's not a great neighborhood, all right? But I'm talking with the seller. Here's kind of her story, at least as she told me, okay? She purchased the property from, right here you can see my notes, Project Hope, okay? And she claims that she has not lived in the property because her boyfriend got into drugs and all of these other things. So I go to my first stamp and I start pulling some information. Here's what I find, okay? Janet R. Johnson, built in 26, 1,300 square feet, 1,449 square feet in the house. And then you see here the trust deed mortgage of $15,000. Now, she tells me that she's got somebody that's helping her oversee the property who turns out to be a caseworker with the city of Spokane, okay? Guy by the name of Rob Crow. So I called Rob on this property yesterday, and it turns out that there are liens for $25,000, $3,000, $3,000. And she also has a bail bond lien that needs to be settled totaling $15,000 that the city is going to require her to pay $3,000, and the city will pay the difference, okay? Now, why am I showing you all of this? Well, there's a lot of things here that don't add up and don't make any sense. But before I invest any time, energy, and effort onto this deal, I need a purchase sale agreement. Okay, so you guys have got to understand just how important it is to write a purchase and sale agreement, even if you may not know all of the terms of the transactions yet. So the thing I love about contracts is you can make them pretty open, and they're not as final as everybody likes to think that they are. Now, in the purchase of this property, the seller, Janet, tells me, or Jeanette, tells me that she needs to net $12,000. Well, given what I initially see on the title and everything else, I don't know if netting her $12,000 is going to be possible. Now, where most people would say, well, I'm not sure if I can net you 12, I got to talk to people and see where I'm at. The problem is that you're going to be doing all of those things without controlling the contract, which is like a waste of time, okay? So what I do is I go ahead and write the offer with Jeanette between one of the companies that I buy into these or properties through, Escalade Properties, and I simply say the purchase price is going to be $40,000 to $45,000 net to owner $12,000 bucks. Now you can see that I've handwritten this in here, so handwritten provisions are fine in a purchase sale agreement as long as they're signed by both parties and acknowledged by both parties here. Okay, so my net is going to be somewhere in this area, but I want to get the seller 12 grand, and that's all the seller cares about. And I know this in my initial discussions with her as I'm talking. She says, Lee, I got a net 12 grand. I don't care what else you do, but I got to have 12 grand. Now, the other thing that I'm going to give her, guys, is I'm going to give her $100 cash, okay? Also be aware that I'm going to go out and meet with this woman live, okay? So I went out and met with her on October 9th. So I went actually over and met with her at her little halfway house apartment, and we signed this contract on the bed. And now I brought somebody with me, so it wasn't me and this woman alone in a one-bedroom apartment together. I did bring a witness, but we went over there. So subject to the assumption of the mortgage, there isn't one. Purchase money, there isn't one. Cash balance to close, $39,900. That's less than $100 here. Then you can see that I have some other handwritten provisions that I've included, okay? Now, what I don't know, and it's this letter from the city of Spokane that's of concern to me, and rather than try to figure it all out, I'm just going to deal with it via contract. So I said, restrictions, easements, and limitations are these: any municipality issues, EPA, environmental issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because we've been told that there's drug use in the property. Now, keep in mind, too, that the property is vacant. It's boarded up. You can't get in there without a screwdriver or a saw. And at this point, guys, on October 9th, we still haven't seen this property. Also, it is a residential single-family dwelling. You can see that she's initialed, as have I, both of the handwritten provisions here, and again, down at the bottom. Okay, next page. Now, I'm going to show you guys why I have all of these crossed out. Okay. Now you can either use what I'm going to show you guys here. You guys all have membership access and login for this. Okay. This is our offer writing software here. So as you guys go into your membership site, you just go into here to the REIW contract creator. And it takes you here, and I simply click on Let's Get Started, and you just start filling in the form, okay? So this makes it very, very easy for you guys to be writing contracts, and hopefully you are using this. Now there's a couple of things you can do as it asks these questions. So we know the name of the seller. As we advance through, what is the seller's address? We know this data. What is the seller's phone we have, name of the buyer we have, address of the buyer we have, phone number of the buyer we have, county we should have, state we have, legal description. Now, just as a quick caveat, guys, the legal description is right here. This is why you've got to have First Am. So if you guys don't have it, please make sure you work with Buffy to get yourself access to My First Am, because here's your legal right here, okay? Now, you can certainly go to the tax assessor's office to pull your legal as well. Just understand that there are easier places to go to get it. So we got street address, we got the purchase price, we got the name of the escrow firm and held in the deposit. Now, for this one here, what is the name of the escrow firm? I use a company called Gustafson Law. So all I do is I Google Gustafson Law, and my account rep there is named Alyssa Ruskowski. So we just take this, and here's all of that, okay? So we just type it in. Here's all of their contacts, so you can literally just grab this, cut and paste, and drop it in thusly. Okay, just like that. I just took that right off of Google Pages. All right, so next, how much is being given in cash deposit? Well, on this one we did $100. Next, if any, now this is where I want you guys to understand that this is perfectly acceptable. If it does not apply, simply push NA. Now, I was running late, so rather than going ahead and typing in NA on all these things, I just went ahead and wrote it right over the front of the contract, which is equally acceptable, okay? Now, if this were a $400,000 deal, I'd probably make it look a little bit more professional. Okay, Victoria says, I thought the legal description was the APN. A great question, Victoria. I'm glad you raised it. But no, that is not the legal description. That is simply the legal identifier. So your legal description is going to read like this: Nettleton First Ad, Lot 22, Block 10. So this is typically what your legal description is going to look like. Now, also be aware that when you go to the county or the tax assessor's office, it's going to be an even longer legal description. But know that your title company will fill that in on the final closing docs when you go to close on this thing, okay? So your APN is not the legal description. It would be the APN, all right? Okay, so purchase money mortgage, of course, NA, we're going to pay cash. Now notice here, guys, I've got my initials and I've got her initials on every one of these. So we literally sat on the bed and went through each of these items covering egress, ingress, leases, nothing to change here. Personal property inspection and repair as is, but then I put seller to remove prior to closing anything that she wanted as is. Then we go to this page, pretty clear. Then subject to inspection. Now here's where this gets important. Subject to inspection and approval by Lee Arnold as managing member of buyer Escalade Properties LLC within 3 days of settlement, okay? So I have not been in this property. I have driven by it. I know where it is. I've seen this house. It's been a blight in this neighborhood for years. So I haven't been in it. Like I said, it is boarded up like you can't believe. So it is subject to inspection. It's also subject to title search and clear title being transferred. Remember, there's all these underlying liens that I have to deal with, but that doesn't stop me from writing the offer. Subject to seller netting at least $12,000 in proceeds at closing. It's imperative that you guys have this in here, simply because if you don't, the seller's going to waffle on you and walk, and you've got nothing. So I'm not going to invest time to go in and see it. I'm not going to invest time to pull the title until this is signed around. And then here you can see that it is signed around. Now on page 9 of 9 on the contract that you would find in the Membership Academy, there is a notary page which is not required. So we just simply put not required, and then we sign an initial. Now this you guys might find interesting, okay? There are 3 things which make a contract binding. The first is the terms of the agreement, okay? Who's doing what, who's paying what, so you've got to have the terms clearly displayed. The second thing to make a contract binding is that you have to have agreements, purchase and sale agreements, signed around by both buyer and seller, which we have, okay? So this contract is the terms. The signatures are number 2 of what gives us contract, And then the third thing that gives us contract is the acknowledgement of receipt of funds. Now, before you all have a conniption, oh, Waitley, you can't photocopy money, that's illegal. Guys, I'm simply showing that these are the same $20 bills that I handed her. So I made photocopies of these 5 $20 bills and took it over and said, seller Janet R. Johnson received $100 cash on 9/9/2015 at 6:30 p.m., signed by her as the seller, and then signed by Jared, who I brought over there as my witness, okay? And then I also added page 10 of 10, so that this became part of the subject property or the contract, okay? Now, at this point, guys, I've got these 10 pages signed around, and I now send them over to the title company. So this entire agreement was sent to the title company, because what the title company is now going to do is they're going to research the validity of all of these underlying liens, okay? Now, while the title company is doing its thing, which it can't even open title until they have this signed around purchase and sale agreement. This is how we get the juices flowing. This is how we get the wheels of commerce greased. Starts with this. So this is now at the title company. They're doing their thing. I then jump on the phone with Rob Crow yesterday, okay? So in my conversation with Rob, and this is why you guys have got to make sure you have yellow pads. Now, these are all the yellow pads currently on my desk. See these? 1, 2, 3. And I put the date as to when the yellow pad got filled up on the top. And then you just date every conversation at the top. This is how I do things, okay? So here we go. Okay, so here's my conversation with Rob Crow, City of Spokane, okay? All right, so Rob proceeds to tell me that there is a first for $24,469.14. This is the $15,000 bail bond lien that he referenced. Then there's a $2,508 lien from the utilities lien. And then they also have an abatement lien of $2,279.08. This is going to have to be paid in full. This is not negotiable. This has to be paid in full. This is not negotiable. This is a lien from the City of Spokane, and they really want this property to go away. So I told Rob, I said, Rob, look, here's where I'm at. I said, with your lien of $25,000, I said, I just cannot pay that with the seller getting $12,000, with this lien getting 3, with this lien getting 3, with the bail bond lien, I got to pay 3. I said, Rob, the most I can pay the City of Spokane is $5,000. Okay. Now I can do this at this moment, you guys, because the purchase and sale agreement simply says 40 to 45 as long as the owner nets 12. If I can negotiate these liens down lower, obviously this is a short sale, and I would be paying 5K, 12K, 3K, 3K, and 3K. So I would then be into this thing 26K. Now, fixed up ARV about 110. Now, I have every intention of wholesaling this deal. I've already got a buyer that's willing to jump and take this thing at 40. So if I can unload it, if I can get it at 26, unload it at 40, and get the financing on this deal, I'm going to get 14K on the wholesale assignment, and with it'll probably end up being about a $75,000 rehab loan. I'll make another $2,000 or $3,000 on the rehab loan. So this is a $17,000 deal or payday, and it all started with my big Kogo van, a purchase and sale agreement with a bunch of numbers that have not yet been determined, other than net to the seller's 12. Now, any questions on this before I go to the next deal? Any questions about this deal? By the way, I did get into the property. And one of the things that I do, guys, especially when you're dealing with somebody that's, I won't say unsophisticated as much as I will say who doesn't have access to digital media like email and fax and those types of things, digital fax. I will actually I upload these into Walgreens. There's a Walgreens right by my house. I upload the photos, and then I will take these with me when I meet with Jeanette, the seller. Now, the other thing that I'm doing here, guys, is I'm going to negotiate Jeanette down from 12 to 6, okay? Now, my contract says I got to give her 12. but I told her that it would be subject to the condition and what I find when I get in there. Now this is what I have found. Now, I apologize, some of these are pretty dark, but here you can see the staircase going down. Now, I did not personally go into these. I sent my assistant out there to unscrew the front of the building, to go in and take photos of everything for me. And as you can see, this place looks pretty rough. This is the staircase going down into the basement, kind of scary. Yep, this is going this way. Pretty steep stairs. This is a picture of the windows being all boarded up. Windows boarded up. Let me get to the one that I think is the most fascinating. Now, if you guys can see this, let me just show you this real quick. I don't know if it'll be able to come through for you here. We might be going through this. We may have bought this before you guys get up here. But this is the upstairs, so we're looking under the eaves in the attic. Now, what you can't see, guys, is between these slats is new OSB. And what that tells you is that we have a new roof, and they've put new decking down, they've put new tar paper, new shingles. It does need a new cover, but the decking's all been redone, so that's going to greatly reduce our costs on this thing. Kitchen, you can see these weird pipes coming up through the house, so we're going to have to deal with those. Here's another one coming up right here. I don't know why they left these exposed. Here's one that goes right through the middle of the floor. Have you ever have houses like this? The thing to do, guys, is either see if they are functional. If they're not functional, either for water or plumbing or air for proper flushing of toilets and things, I would either cut it out or I would box it in. So it just looks like a beam instead of a pole, because the pole makes it look like a weird stripper house, for lack of a better term. Another one going through here. So the construction of this thing is just very odd all around. Anyway, the seller cannot get into the property. She has been banned by the city from entering this property because she was dealing and manufacturing drugs inside of the house. But here you can see the heater. All of the, it's relatively new. It's been updated. That's one of the one of the more expensive fixes we look at. Also, we look at the electrical and the plumbing to see if it has been upgraded. And we do have new electrical service coming into the property as well. Here's the kitchen. Obviously, it's going to need some work. And the picture I'm looking for, guys, is down in the basement. It may not be in the set. Down in the basement, there is about 50 hypodermic needles just sitting there where they were using them to shoot up drugs. And this is one of the reasons why the city condemned the house, because if kids got in there, who knows what degree of infection there is on those needles. Anyway, that's all going to have to be removed. But the city of Spokane wants this property gone. They don't want to deal with this Janet Johnson anymore. And they've got another one across the street that they would like us to eliminate for them as well once we get through this one. Okay, Rick says, do you know what the city lien was for specifically? Are they all that negotiable? Some of the liens are negotiable, Rick. However, one is a utility lien, and the city of Spokane said they're not going to negotiate that. And then the other is a possession lien. So essentially what that is she was being fined by the day because the home was uninhabitable, there was drug paraphernalia, there was needles on the front porch, and so the city was fining this woman by the day for those problems. Now the reason they aren't negotiable on those liens is because they have to pay the cops out of this HOPE program. They got to pay the city of Spokane for the policing efforts on the house, so that one is not negotiable. So our 2 points of negotiation are the $25,000 lien with the city and the $12,000 payable to the seller, okay? All right, any questions on that one? All right, now let me show you guys another one. Now this is one that we purchased. at auction a few weeks ago. And we are now selling this house as well. By the way, if anybody wants to bid at properties at auction, if you want to bring some cashier's checks with you, you are welcome to bid, and I will not bid against you if you guys want to bid when you're up here. So if you are interested in bidding while you're here, bring cashier's checks made out to yourself. Typically, you're going to need anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000, depending on what inventory is going that day. That might get you some deals. So if that is of interest to you, make sure you bring that up with you. Okay. Now I take all of this information, I take the photos, and I shove them into this manila folder, and then this goes into a stack with all of the other properties that are in some stage of negotiation or review or sale or anything else. Once the property is sold, I then move it into a different folder just for future reference. And yes, I do have digital copies of all of this, so be aware of that. Okay. Now this is another interesting contract, which is why I'm showing it to you, okay? This is one of our equity funds that purchased this property, and we are wholesaling it. Now we're wholesaling it to a company called the B Team Properties LLC. Now what's interesting about this one is we bought it for $86,500. And the seller said, well, or the buyer said, Lee, what will you sell it to me for? I said, I need to net $95,000. Okay? So the way that we wrote it is purchase price is a net amount to the seller. Buyer to be responsible for all closing costs and fees above $95,000 net to the seller. And you can see total $95,000. Now we are also getting financing for this person. So we're wholesaling it and we're helping them obtain the rehab loan. So we're getting them a loan. We've already funded this. The loan's ready to go. We just need to close. So we've got a $145,000 loan that is going to go to the buyer. Out of these proceeds, $95,000 will come back to the fund, which is us. Okay, so we make $8,500 on the deal, and then we're going to make another 3 points and 13% interest on this loan, and this is a 12-month loan. So all in, we'll end up clearing close to $13,000, $14,000 on a house that we've owned for a couple of weeks. You guys have seen this one. This is the house here that we bought at auction for $86,500. So now we're just turning around, wholesaling it, and getting a loan out of the deal. Now the reason I show this to you guys is I have no idea what these fees or costs are going to be. So I simply put this together. Here you see Gustafson Law again. I'm only doing $10 in consideration on this deal, but I need this purchase and sale agreement signed around so that I can send it to Alyssa, who will then put together the HUD, and then I can go back to the buyer and say, okay, here's your bottom line, here's the net proceeds coming from you out of the loan. Now what's great for the buyer is they're coming to closing with absolutely zero of their own cash, and they're going to have about $40,000 in a escrow account to do the renovation or repair. So this is another deal that we have going on, okay? So again, guys, you don't have to know everything to write the offers, and that's what I want to illustrate here through our discussion. So let me run through the rest of our slides, and then we will move on here. Okay, so going back to motivated questions that we want to ask and that we need to know. What is your asking price? Do you want to find out what their expectations are? How much did the house assess for? A lot of times the sellers have no idea. Is the house listed? If so, who has it listed? When is the listing over? Ask if it's okay to keep them on your mailing list just in case the house doesn't sell. And do you have any other properties to sell? Never forget to ask this question. Now this is an area where I see a lot of you missing the mark. Okay, so if you don't have this anywhere, I want you to make sure that you write it down, and in your script, as you're making these outbound calls, on the top, on the sides, on the whiteboard in front of you, write in big, bold letters, do you have any other properties to sell? Also keep this in mind, you guys, for every call that you make, you are either identifying a motivated seller that's got one or more properties that they would like to sell, or you are talking to a property investor that already owns real estate that may be interested in purchasing more, okay? So a big area that I see many of you missing You're not just calling to buy the property that they've got that you mailed them a letter on. You're calling them to buy any other properties that they might have, and if they are adamant about not wanting to sell anything, would they be interested in buying more? So they're either a motivated seller or they're a motivated buyer. Now, let's add a third tier to this thing just because we can. If they're not a motivated seller, we have to ask the question why. And the reason why, if you have good rental properties in good locations with good tenants that make all of their payments on time, that you are cash flowing on, you got a property manager established, and you just get a check every month, what is your motivation to sell? You have absolutely zero pain whatsoever, all right? Now, if that's true, they should be making money hand over fist. So when you ask the question, are you interested in buying more property, because I'm actually an active investor here in the area, and if you are interested in taking on more inventory, I'd be happy to put you on my auto hot sheet, and when I find a property that might meet your criteria, I'll send you an email, and if you want to buy it, shoot me an email. And they'll say, no, I'm not interested in buying any real estate. Really? How come? Well, I'm just not. Well, is it because you don't want to manage tenants and toilets anymore, your portfolio is full, your quiver is full? Are you still interested in making money? Well, yeah, of course I'm still interested in making money. Okay, great. Well, the reason I ask is that I, in addition to being a property investor, I also do private money loans. And my company actually offers financing to the people that we wholesale a lot of our real estate to. Would you be interested in making 10, 12 points on a little 4 to 6 month deal by providing rehab funding to some of our investors that maybe don't have enough cash to get the deal done? Yeah, I might be interested in doing that. Great, then I'm going to add you to my lender blast, okay? So they're either a motivated seller, they are an interested, maybe want to buy more buyer, or they are somebody that's got money, has done well, and might consider lending, okay? So don't be so one-dimensional as you're making these calls. I mean, you guys are investing the time to pick up the phone and dial. You invested the time to send a letter. You got an active audience sitting there. You may as well maximize your income opportunities with this individual, okay? What repairs and or updates would you do if you were to buy this house? Okay, now again, speaking in terms that we have a motivated seller on the line, they will never tell you what's wrong with the property. So if you were to ask the question or phrase it from the standpoint of, hey, I see you're pretty motivated here. It looks like the property's in disrepair. Can you tell me all that's wrong with it? The last thing they're going to do is give you a laundry list of everything that's broke, okay? The way that we get that information is we simply ask them, you know, if you're going to fix this property up to retail value, what things would you do to really bring it up to snuff, to make it just pristine? And then they're going to go through, well, it needs paint, it needs carpet, I would put a new kitchen in it, I would redo the bathrooms. And then you will ask the follow-up question, if you were to do all of those things, what do you think you could sell it for? Now, this is to identify what their belief or their emotional attachment to the property is. Because if you and I both know that the house is worth $200 and they tell you, oh, fix up, it's worth $500,000, okay, this is clearly somebody that's not living in reality world, and getting them down is going to be tough. And if you find yourself at a stalemate where the conversation is just not going anywhere, say, well, why don't we table this property for a moment? Do you have anything else that maybe you'd be interested in selling? No, I don't. Well, okay, well, have you ever considered being a lender? And walk them through these other opportunities, then circle back to the house in question, okay? If they can see that they don't have to get rich from you on this deal, that there are multiple opportunities for you to make money together, they may be more apt to work with you on these. Now, when I say get the deal under contract, guys, I just want to reiterate this. I do not go look at property. If I don't have the exclusive absolute right to buy it, I don't go look at it. Now, the only time that is an untrue statement is when I'm bidding at the auction. Okay, now when you guys are out here in 2 weeks, we're going to pull the auction list. I'll show you how to do that. I'll show you how to check the title to make sure we're bidding on it first and there's no other senior liens that we have to deal with. We will then pull the comps. We will establish our high bid based on paper. We'll then go out and look at the property and make adjustments based on what we see when we get out there. Now, one of the biggest adjustments I will make to my high bid is whether the property is occupied or not. If the property is occupied, it could take months to get the tenant out. Now, the one I was in court with yesterday, I bought that house back in July, and I still have her in there. And we have been working with attorneys and doing everything to the letter of the law. But this woman's no idiot. She's been squatting in the house for 2 years. I did not know that prior to buying. Had I known that, I probably would have thought again about picking up the property. I mean, it was a great deal, don't get me wrong, but this tenant has been a royal pain. And what's interesting is that I have already sold this house. The house is sold. I've already got my money on the deal. But one of my contingencies in the sale is that I would work to evict the tenant. So I will continue to do that on behalf of the buyer. But the greatest adjustment in my high bid will be based on whether or not it is occupied. Okay. Now, something you might want to research, you guys, is the auction process itself in your own market. And I'm going to encourage that you do this before you get out here. My client Dave that I was out in New York with last week, I was adamant. I said, Dave, you need to get to the auction. You need to go research that. You need to go check it out. And he never did it, thinking that he had to have all cash. Well, by the time I get out there, we go to the auction, we meet with some of the regulars that are down there. We discover that you only need 10% down to bid, and the rest of the funds can come in 30 to 45 days from the sale, which means he can be down there bidding on $50,000 and $100,000 houses with only a cashier's check for $5 or $10 grand, and then Kogo can fund the rest. In fact, we're working on a deal that we bought when I was out there yet last week. So we picked up 2 houses when we were there last week, and we're working now on the loans to get those closed. In Florida, I was just on the phone with Cam Dunlop. Maybe you know Cam, a friend of mine. They have a mastermind going on. I was supposed to be down there, but I had too much to do, so I'm here. He was talking about the auction in Florida, where you need to have $5,000 cashier's check at 11 a.m. and you need to have the remaining funds by 3 p.m. Well, local lender guys can move that fast. Kogo can't, simply because we have to have appraisals and all these other things. But if you've got relationships with local lenders, that's a great strategy. So if you have not been to the auction yet to really vet it out and see how it all works, I would encourage you to do that. Vicki, I know that you, there in California, you might want to shoot over to Norwalk on either a Tuesday or Thursday when the bulk of the sales are held there. But become familiar with these processes, guys. Anyway, I digress. Why do we get the deal under contract? Because I will not invest time, energy, or effort in doing any due diligence on a property that I do not control or have the absolute right to buy. That's why I've shown you guys deals here where I've written offers before I ever went out and saw them. Now, we secure the property so no one else can steal it out. It'll give you time to look over the property. It'll give the lender peace of mind that the deal won't fall through. So step 1, prospect and review potential properties. Step 2, write the offers. Step 3, get the offer accepted by the seller. And step 4, put earnest money into escrow to complete the contract. Now, I showed you guys 2 here. 1, I gave the woman $100 cash, and that was fine, sufficient. That made we have binding contract. The other, I'm only requiring that the buyer put $10 down because we're the lender. Where are they going to go? The one thing I love about wholesaling, guys, where you also carry the financing, and you can do that either as the lender or as a broker. It happens that I'm brokering that $145 grand. It's not the fund's money, it's not my money. I'm brokering that and making 3 points just for brokering. That's another $4,500 on the brokering, and I'm keeping 2 points on yield spread. So that's another $3,800 on yield spread plus the servicing. Okay, so there's a lot of upside when you control the property as the wholesaler and the broker. So again, for those of you that aren't brokers, you need to be. And if you're not a senior master broker, that is happening next week. So make sure you are here for that if you can be. All right, so we got to figure out what our MAO is. First, we take the after repaired value, which you determine from your comps. Then you multiply the ARV by 70%. If you're using your own money to buy, or 65% if you're using private money. Then you subtract your repairs and you're left with your MAO. Now your MAO analysis is important, guys, because we want to get close. We're not going to be perfect, we just want to get close. So let me show you this. Now, if I were bidding, or if this was a property that I had called on, okay, let me show you what I would do. So let's assume that this came from my yellow letter or the out-of-state owner advocate. It wasn't going to auction, and all I saw was my first am. Okay, so anytime I see a vacant property, guys, I'm looking right here. Yeah, Vicki, I'm pretty sure it is 100% of the auction bid as well. Okay, now yesterday, guys, I was driving, so let me show you something. Actually, this might be more helpful for you. Okay, so this is what I do. When I'm out and about driving and I see a property that looks vacant, I just do this. 1405 South Crestline looks vacant. It's in Spokane. Okay, so let's start there. In fact, I'm going to do that because it'll be a live deal, and you guys can see how I think. 1405 South Crestline, Spokane. Okay, now I don't know the zip yet, so where am I going to go first? I'm going to go to Zillow, because I can get the most information in the shortest period of time. Okay, so here's what I got. Now, I am moving, and by the way, guys, if you don't have multiple screens, you need to get them. I actually have 3 monitors. I have where you guys are looking right here, this is my laptop monitor, and then I also have 2 other monitors. So what I've done is I just moved this page up and over to the right so that I can see it, but you guys will be able to see me writing stuff here. So here's what we've got. We've got a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,070 square feet. Zillow puts value at $190,807. And for that neighborhood, that sounds about right. And I'm going to go back here, switch these out. Okay, now the other thing I'm looking at Zillow here, guys, is here's the subject property here. This one's at 190. It's much larger. The house next door is at 201. This one is a huge lot, 215. So 190 seems to be right. But I'm going to go down here to my comparable sales, recently sold. Don't look at the for sales. The for sales don't matter. I need to know what's selling. So I only look at sold comps. Now, I think I explained this to you guys last time, but at the risk of being redundant, I'll do it again. If it's green and there's a plus sign, it means that this property is superior. It's either larger, which it is, it's got more square footage, or if it has additional bedrooms and baths, like here, for example, this one is 54 square feet smaller. This one has 1 less bathroom. This one is 398 square feet smaller. Now, I always go down to the bottom, because this is going to be your top-of-the-line comp right here. That's funny. And I'm laughing because this 821 Napa Street, this was mine. So I actually created the comps in this neighborhood on the high side because this is the house we did. I did this house, and I also have this house right now that you guys will be coming through when we go on our property tour. So this one we bought for 110, sold it for 260. This one we bought for 85, sold it for 230. This one I bought for 95 and couldn't give it away. This one's right now listed at 189.9. Anyway, those are our highline comps is the 229.9 price. And if I can make this house look good, I can definitely get it because the market will hold that. Okay, and you can see it's same bedrooms and baths, but smaller square footage, and we got 229.9 out of it. So going now back to my analysis of ARV, I'm going to put ARV on this one at about 220,000. Okay, now with that at 220, again, guys, remember, we can write the offer using Zillow, but we're not going to buy it. Everything's going to be subject to something. Okay, so the rules are, take 70% of this number, okay, so 220 is our max ARV, at 70, puts us at 154. Okay, now, at 154, what does our slide say? It says, then subtract your repairs. okay? And this house, the repairs are about $40,000 based on what I could see. So I'm at 114, okay? Now this is your MAO, or maximum allowable offer, is 114. Now, before you write the offer, because most of you would think, okay, well, let's write the offer. Nope, there's a step before that, okay? And that step is we got to find out what do they owe. So let's go over here to My First Am. Now, again, guys, I haven't left the office. I have not done an interior inspection. I don't care about any of that stuff. So we're going to go into My First Am. Now, one of the things that I do on My First Am to kind of expedite this, the internet is an interesting thing because it has digital stamps. And if you can grab a digital stamp from one location, it's more likely to populate in the next location. So what I mean is I go over to Zillow and I highlight that and I'm going to copy this, okay? Now, some of you, you can just on your board, just put your keyboard, just hit Control-C, and that's copy. Then you don't have to do this whole right-click copy thing, okay? Then I'm going to go back over here to My First Am, and I'm just going to drop it in, okay? And this is going to increase our hit ratio. Right here, drop it in, and they just, okay, I'm apparently moving too fast for my computer because it's freezing up on me here. Okay, drop that. There we go. Then hit Run Combined Report. And as we go along here, guys, if you have questions, please put them in. Okay, I agree, and continue. Now, I'm in the state of Washington where title companies have to charge for this information, so I get charged for all my First Am stuff. It's minimal, though. I mean, we're talking like 60 cents a search. Okay, since there aren't any questions, tell me what you've learned so far up to this point. Go ahead and type that in. All right, so here's who owns this property, okay? This is Laura and Jeffrey, so it's Laura E. Paisley and Jeffrey Nordvell. It appears to be owner-occupied because the mailing matches the property. Built in 1955, it sits on almost a quarter of an acre. It's 1,840 square feet. They bought it in 2008 for $195,700. They have a first loan on it from FHA for $192,676. So as we go down here, we see trust deed in 11 for $187. They bought it from Ann Kelsey for $195,700. She bought it back in 2003. She got a loan on it for $53,500. That might have been a refinance. Yep. Okay. Now, this is information, guys, that I would use to bid and to buy, okay? So what you guys will see with the auction properties when you get up here, we actually attach this sheet as part of our package on everything because we're looking for the right comps. This was built in 55, it's 1,840 square feet. So I scroll down here, I'm looking for 1955 on the left for the year built and the square footage to get the closest match, all right? So 55, no. Here's one in 56, 1933, subject is 1840, so that's a decent comp right there. Where'd you go? That one was right here at 180, okay? So 180, 6/10 of a mile away. On Fisk, I got another one on Fisk. I'll take you guys through that when you're here too. 195,700. Yeah, comps on this are about 220. But here's the point, guys. None of this stuff matters, and let me show you why. It's right here. Right here. You seeing this? Okay. They owe 192, and they got a loan from 2008. Now, what does that mean? Let me show you guys a fun little site. It's called bankrate.com. Okay. Victoria says Rick says, what percentage of your time do you spend on REO ops? I don't spend any time on REO opportunities, Rick. I don't even look at them. I got enough to do with just our yellow letter campaigns, out-of-state free and clear, and the auction stuff. So I don't buy off the MLS. Victoria, I have been, oh, okay. Okay, Vicki says, I've learned I need to get confident and competent with this process. Yes, you do. Good. Okay, on Bankrate, we're going to go to calculators. And so far, guys, by the way, Vicki is the only one who's learned anything because she's the only one that actually inputted anything. We're going to go to a mortgage calculator here. And then I want a mortgage loan calculator. And what I'm looking for here, guys, I want the full amortization. Okay. And where is my calculator? Let's try this again. Vicki's still the only one that's learned anything. Okay, amortization schedule calculator is what I'm looking for right here, okay? Now, I'm going to move, see this tab over here on the left, guys? I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to move it over to this other screen. So now I have the My First Am report up and over here to the right so that I can see the mortgage information. So the loan amount was $192,676. It is a FHA loan, so it's going to be a 30-year. It was taken out in 2008, and in 2008 the rates on an owner-occupied house were about 5.5%, and the mortgage start date was, they closed on this loan on August 8th of 08. So we're going to go back in time, and we're going to go to 2008 to August, and we're going to show amortization schedule. Okay, so now here's what I love about this. Don, learn questions and interest seller, determine the seller's motivated, then how to evaluate prospective purchase without leaving my office and develop. Good. Durrell, how to calculate MAO is great. I'm learning that I need to change my view on the deals. There are multiple ways to attach each offer that could benefit the seller and myself. Good. And he says attach, he meant attack each offer in itself. Okay. Good. All right. So let's now fast forward to today, and it is October of 2015, and they owe $166,000 on this house. Okay. Now we know, guys, going back over here to our MAO. Okay, we know that our MAO is 114. All right, and here in October of 15, their payoff is 166. Okay, so right here's the payoff, right above my thing. 170 is what they owe as of right now. So there's $50,000 in equity here if we were going to do a subject to or a get the deed transaction. Now when we go over here to write our offer, guys, the one thing that we cannot do is we cannot lowball it to the degree that they're going to have to come out of pocket with cash. And right now you can see that the least they could sell it for is $170,506 without coming out of pocket with cash. Well, that's not going to work, okay? You cannot write offers where the seller is going to have to bring cash to the closing table. Now, if this were a different time, and that time is quickly coming, it'll be here in about 2.5 years, where we get back into the short sale business, we use this to find out what they owe. Then we go in, look at the value, and then we write the offer based on what we're willing to pay, and then we short sell this with the lender. Needless to say, guys, I would not do anything more with this lead, okay? We simply cannot make it pencil. So based on what they owe, based on the payoff of that loan, it's just not a deal worth pursuing. So at this point, I am done, okay? Now, just let's assume now, since this is where most of you are going to be, just so I can show you how this is going to work, let's assume, guys, that they got a mortgage, because the list that you guys are pulling should include mortgages that are old. So let's assume that they got this loan back in June of 1995, okay? This would make the loan 20 years old. So using the same deal, and at this point we're going to leave reality and we're going to go into fantasy land just so I can show you guys how to write offers. Vicky says, how do you really know current balance? What if they came into money and put it towards the first? I don't know that, Victoria, but most people don't do that, okay? So I'm going to base everything on what I'm getting in my first AM, which is they got a first loan in 2008 for $192,600, and they paid $195,000, which means they only put 3% down, the required minimum for FHA. So they don't strike me as being people of affluence. Also, if they did pay this mortgage down significantly, given where rates have been, I mean, in 2010, 11, and 12, rates were, you could literally get a new loan for 3%. So if they had a rate at 5.5, they would have refinanced if they had equity. She says, or conversely, what if they owe more due to late or non-payment? They certainly could, Victoria, but there's so many deals out there. We don't want to spend all of that time pursuing this one, trying to make it something it's not. On the surface, it just doesn't look like a good deal, and we're going to leave it at that, okay? Now, getting back to our playtime scenario now, remember, this is the date we're looking for. So we go back to my mortgage AM here. And we're going to go back and say that they got the loan on we're going to go back in time to 1995. Okay, and it was June. And calculate. Okay, payment's still the same. Now we go into our amortization schedule. Okay, and then let's fast forward from 95, 20 years to today. Okay, so October 2015, they owe 98. Okay, so going back over here now, this is the number we have to deal with. Right there is 98,000, 259.12. Now remember, our ARV is 220. This is the max that they can sell it for without having to come out of pocket with any cash. All right? So let's pull up our trusty offer. And And I'm just going into our membership site. So again, you guys should all have access to this. So you go over here to Members, Members Academy Login, and click to enter. And then go over here to REIW Contract Creator. And we're going to create a custom document. So now we go into seller's name. Now again, guys, this is where it's really handy to have multiple screens, because I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to pull our My First Am report. I'm going to stick it over here on the left-hand side, and I'm going to use it and reference it to write all of our offer information. So the owner is also the seller, so it's going to be Jeffrey J. Nordval, and Paisley. Actually, always put the woman's name first on these, regardless of how title reads. Laura E. Paisley and Jeffrey Nordval. Okay. Next, seller's address. Now we put in the address of the property, which is 1405 South Crestline Street, and that's Spokane. What is the seller's phone number? We don't know, so we're going to leave that as NA. Next, what is the name of the buyer? Well, as you guys know, everything I do is going to be Escalade Properties, LLC. Now, if I'm buying to hold, I buy an Arnold Professional Holdings. So I have an entity for buying, and I have an entity buying and holding, and I have an entity for flipping. Buyer's address is right there. Buyer's phone. Next. County is in Spokane. Next. What state? We are in Washington. Boom. Next. Legal description. Okay, now again, guys, this is where we go into My First Am, and the legal is right here. See this? So I can just grab it, copy and paste it, move this back over to the left screen, and then drop this in right here. Okay, next. What is the street address? 1405 South Crestline there. And purchase price. Okay, now see addendum. Next, what is the escrow? Okay, now here, this is where we go into our title company. We type in Gustafson. Now you guys are going to have one. Dale and Daryl, you guys probably close all your own deals. Okay, so I grab that. I go here, I highlight, and Control-C, go back over here and drop it in. Next. How much is being, I'll give them $100 cash. Non-cash deposit is NA. What is the name of the mortgagee? NA. I'm not assuming the mortgage. Okay. What is the interest rate? NA. Now, even if I'm going to add a assumption element, guys, I'm not going to put it in the main body of the contract. Even on the monthly payment being assumed. Those are details that you need not know, nor do you need to include them here. It's just too much detail and it's going to confuse the seller. So I want this first contract to be really, really simple. Now, see this where it says, how much new money will the buyer need to borrow? NA. Financing required, NA. All of this will be covered later. This is an initial purchase and sale agreement. I do not need to know all the details, nor do they. Okay. Now, as far as commitment, see addendum. Everything is see addendum. Anything related to price or financing. Minimum amount. parties must execute. See addendum. Addendum, there we go. Next. Finish. Okay. Now, it gives you this, so is this correct? Address, property, is the legal correct? NA, yes, yes, yes. See addendum, submit. Okay, now it says document ready, and it has sent me an email. Now we can open this here. Now there's a couple of options that we have here, guys. Now don't tell anybody that I told you how to do this, okay? But I will teach it to you simply because you are Lee's Inner Circle clients. And it's not that it's illegal or anything else. We just don't encourage people to do this, okay? Because basically it puts you now into a bad spot because you're going outside of the contract the way it's written. Okay, so I'm going to save this file, and I'm going to save it right here. Okay, and this is purchase offer on 1405 South Crestline, and that's Spokane, Washington, 99203. Save. Okay, now here's a fun little tool you guys can go check out. Okay, it's called www.pdf2word.com. Watch this. Okay, now I want to convert a PDF to a Word doc. So we're going to go in, we're going to select this file here, drop it in. Once it's done, I want you to email it to me here. Convert now. Okay, success. Now it's going to email it to my inbox. So let's go to my inbox. And I'm just waiting for it to come in here. I paused my screen, guys, so I'm doing stuff behind here. See if I can log jam this thing through. Okay, so I will wait for that to come through. And that may have been it. Okay, so anyway, what that does, guys, is it's going to send you the Word doc, and you can then go in and amend the Word doc. So let me show you what that looks like. Open. Okay, this is one I just got done doing earlier today. It's the one I just showed you. And And here we go. Okay. So now you can see that once we do the PDF to Word conversion, now you can go in here and you can change stuff and move stuff around, which you will want to do. However, there's another way that I do this, okay? When you guys need this or are ready for it, you're going to send Cheryl an email and say, hey, Cheryl, I need the addendum page. And there's two. You can either create your own that looks like this, and I just simply add this to any contract that we're doing, guys, or I will also send you this. Okay. Now here is my standard language on this thing, okay? Now follow the format, okay? Now number one, this is called my three-tiered offer writing formula. If you want a copy of this, simply send an email to Cheryl and say, hey Cheryl, can you forward that to me? In fact, let me do this just so she has it. Please send to all who ask. Okay, all right, so all you guys are going to do is when you get this, notice it's addendum to contract number one, and in the purchase and sale agreement that we just got done writing, we made everything subject to the contract, okay? So if you recall, everything in here is see the addendum. See addendum on everything. This is the addendum I'm referring to right here, okay? So now we would go in and simply adjust these terms, but it always follows the same formula. Now, going back to this here, okay, now we know that the max we can offer without them coming here is $98,259. We know that our ARV is $220, okay? But this first offer has to be shockingly low, okay? So on this particular property, I'm going to make my first offer $75,000, okay? Now my next offer is going to be enough to cover. So $110,000, buyer to pay, I'll give them, I would say buyer to pay enough down to cover closing costs. Okay. Seller carry a first mortgage in the amount of, well, 110. They owe 98,000 bucks. So in this case, we're going to have the seller. Let's do it this way. We'll say seller to put 10,000 down. I'm just going to make the math easy here. Remember, our offer price is 110. So the loan amount then is going to be 100,000. At 4% interest amortized, 15-year balloon, seller to receive monthly payments of. Now, this is where we're going to go back to the bank rate site, and we will use it to run our calculations here. Now, this is really important, you guys, because you've got to include these because it's what makes your offer much stronger, okay? So we're going to go in here, and it would be a $100,000 offer. And we're offering it a 4% rate with a start date of, oh, I would probably do December 1st as the start date. Calculate. Now, this is where you guys have to do some manual calculations because this is how you come up with the balloon payment at the end of this term, okay? So the payments here are $477.42. Now this is simply principal and interest. This does not include taxes and insurance, which you would not include as part of this analysis, okay? So then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say show the amortization schedule. Now, going back to our addendum, remember that we're going to do 15 years. So we're going to change this to 477, 477.42 for 15 years. Now, the way that we come up with the annual is we're simply going to take the 477 times 12. So we're at 477 times 12. 477 times 12 is 5724. 5,724 per year. Now we're going to run that times 15 years as well. Times 15 is 85,860. Okay. So let's go back to our offer. Okay, so we're going to be paying $5,724 per year. Okay. Then we need to give the balloon payment. So to get the balloon payment, we're going to go back to our bank rate. Oops, there it is right there. Okay, so we go back to bank rate, and then 15 years from today is going to be December of 2030, right? So on 2030, right here, and we said December, we will owe them a balloon payment of what should be $50,477. Let's make sure we're on the right column here. Okay, so total interest paid, this is the balance owing on the right. So let's go back now to December of 30. So we're going to give them another balloon payment here of $64,542. $64,542 and 80 cents. Okay, so this is the balloon. So that's what we will pay them off at the end of 15 years. So now we go back to our addendum. Okay, so at the end of the 15 years, our balloon payment will be $64,542.80. All right. No, that's not where I want that. That's going to go here. And then this is the amount of payments we will make over that period of time, which is $85,860. Total paid over 180 months. Okay, now, to come up with this number, we simply take this number and add the two together. So we've got 85,860 plus 64,542.80 equals 150,000. So now we go total paid out over that many months is 150,402.80. Okay. Now this is really important, you guys, because on our offer we're telling them 110, but in reality we're paying them 150,402. So we need them to see this because remember, in our bizarro fantasy land, their payoff is 98. Now the other thing is that if this one was written in 1995, in 10 years they will own this property free and clear, which means they're going to be getting $5,724 per year for a period of 5 years during this amortization. Now the next one is we want it to be significantly higher. So I would pay $150,000 for this property. Now with that, I'm going to want to put 0 down. Purchase price to be $150,000 with the seller carrying a first mortgage in the amount of $150,000 with interest at 2% for 30 years with a 5-year balloon. Okay. Now here I've got this at $100,000, this at a 5-year balloon. I can just as easy make this no balloon, but let's see what we shake out with. So at $150,000 at 2%, we got to first figure out what our monthly payment's going to be. So we're going to go back to our amortization, and then we're putting in a new calculation here. So this time we're going to be at $150,000, and we're going to drop this to 2. And the start date would be the same. So first of all, let's look at our monthly payment. Okay, so the monthly payment on this one's going to be higher. So it's $554.33. So go back here, and we're going to say $554.33. $554.33. Then we're going to take that times 12 to get our per year. So we go here, $554.33. $554.33 times 12. So we then drop in here 6,000. $6,651.96, and then we're going to take that number times 5, which is going to be $33,259.80. Okay, with the balloon payment in 60 months. So now we need to figure out what the balloon payment is. So we go back to our amortization here, and we're going to show amortization. And we are going to drop down, okay, to when our balloon would occur, which would be December of 2020. Okay, so December of 2020 right here, the balance owing would be $131. So I'm just going to copy and paste that and go back to my addendum. Okay, so then we add the two together. 131, 131, 142.40, plus the payments that we would make of $33,259.80, and we come up with total paid over 60 months will be $164,402.20. Okay. Now, what we've done here, guys, if we've taken a property from $75,000 to $110 with $150,000 in payments, where we're putting $10,000 down, to offering them $150,000 with 0 down and a 2% interest rate, where we would be paying $164,402.20 over the period of the loan. Okay. Now, understand that I have absolutely 0 inclinations that this offer would ever be accepted. So for those of you looking at this and going, Lee, that's a crazy offer. Nobody in their right mind is going to accept it. Great. Because you have to understand the motivation of this offer. It is not to get the offer accepted. The motivation of this offer is to get conversations started about the sale of this property. Now, the way that this conversation goes is, hey, Lee, I got your offer, and, you know, option 1 is absolutely off the table. We owe more than that. We like option 2 because of the down payment. We'd like to see some down payment, but ultimately we really like $150,000. Our concerns are you're not putting any money down, and there's no way we could carry it at 2% interest. Now, here's why this is genius, you guys, okay? Prior to this offer coming over in this format, they weren't even considering selling. They weren't even considering seller financing. They didn't even understand it. But when we lay it out in this format, they can see, okay, I'm getting $447 a month, all right. So if we carry this out for 15 years, we get $150,000, even though they're only paying $110,000. But here we get $150,000. We get monthly payments to lock up an annuity. That gives us $6,600 a year, and 5 years from now we get a payoff of $131,000, $142,040. Okay, so I don't give the seller an opportunity to have to think. Everything that they need to see is right here on the addendum page. And again, guys, remember that in the initial offer here, oops, that's not what I wanted. In the initial offer here, they were not, in the initial offer, everything said see addendum, okay? Now, I want to address questions specifically to this calculation. Where I see most of you struggling is on the monthly payment of the amortization as well as the balloon. Everybody understand how to do this? And Vicki says, you can edit with Acrobat Pro as well. Yeah, I know, Vicki, but I know a lot of people don't have Acrobat Pro, so I try to teach in a format that all of these tools are available to everybody for free, because a lot of people don't have it. Okay, so you all feel pretty confident with this? All right, good. Then let's go back to our slides. Free is good, yeah. Okay, so here is our MAO calculation, guys, elongated. Again, now I want you to send, why not use interest only in option 3, says Don. Don, you can, but that is something that I would do on a negotiation. I would not offer it out of the box, simply because if they were to come back and say, well, Lee, 2% is just too low. Could we maybe increase the interest rate? Well, sure, but I want to make sure that I am paying down the principal as much as I can over this period of time. So I want to owe less. I want to be building equity through this process. Now, we could also discuss a subject to deal, but that takes us to a different realm, okay? All right, so here is the 3-tiered offer, guys, okay? Lowball cash. Can you give us an address and show us make a test offer? Victoria, can you give us an address and have us make a test offer? Yeah. Vicki, just go into your membership area and write a test offer with the addendum. If you want to just do one of these dry run on these, I'd be happy to review it. So if you want to do a dry run, send it over. I'd much rather you did it on a live deal. I have reviewed contracts already for Don as well as for Daryl and Darrell. So Vicki, just find a house and let's write a real offer on one of these. Okay. All right. Now, guys, once the offer is accepted, okay, we're now going to step into the financing side of it, because where a lot of you guys are not writing these offers, it's because you don't have the confidence that the cash is going to be there for you when you need it. First thing you've got to have to even submit a loan to Coco Capital is a purchase and sale agreement, okay? From there, here is a list of items that your loan officer is going to ask you for. Now, for those of you, I want you to do a screen grab here and take this list, okay? So there are 3 screens. Here's screen number 1. I want you to do a screen grab of it. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can do a control print screen, or if you guys don't have it, you can do a snipping tool, which you can see that I've added here to my taskbar at the bottom. I like the snipping tool because I can just, anytime I'm watching a presentation or somebody's giving a webinar, if I see something I like, I just grab it, okay? Then I can take the snipping tool and I can email it. I can cut and paste it into a Word doc. So one of the things that I will often do when I'm watching a webinar, I will just open up a new Word doc like this, okay? And then I just drop this in, okay? Now, as the webinar presentation is going along, so now we advance to the next screen, and I go here. Hang on 2 seconds for me, guys. Hey, Rob, how are you doing, sir?
Doing good, thanks.
Good.
Did I get you at a good time?
Yeah, I got a few minutes.
Okay. I think there's a definite interest in working a deal out.
Okay.
There's a few details that I would need to know first, and a condition that I wanted to explain to you as well.
Okay.
The details, when you had stated the city would receive 5,000, was that still with the understanding that anything over 3 to Acme we would have to eat?
Yeah.
Or are you able to take that risk?
Do you want me to deal with Acme directly?
Well, I think either way, you don't have a whole lot of leverage, so
Right.
it may be better coming from me. I think I can get them to take the 3,
Okay.
and maybe I start there before you. I can make a phone call tomorrow and see where I get with them, and then we decide what to do with it. But right now, where it stands, and again, I'll show you my cards here, is they've countered to me with 6. And so I know my worst case scenario was an additional 3. So we may need to work something out between us to cover that, but I think I can talk them into the 3.
Okay, so I'd be at 6 to the city, and that would take care of the 25K underlying, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and then I'd be 3 to Acme.
Correct.
Okay, and does the city have any concerns with the amount going to the seller?
We're swallowing a bitter pill.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have problems, but we have bigger problems with this taking as long as it would to resolve otherwise. I don't know. I mean, there's still a pretty heavy lift to convince her to take 5, 6, or 7, which, you know, we're okay with it going up a tiny bit. But yeah, I'd love to keep that. I'd rather have more than her have more.
Okay. So what you're saying is, if there's 12 to be paid out, you'd like as little to go to her and more to go to you, if that's a possibility?
Yeah, but I don't want to kill the deal.
Okay.
So, you know, if we have to swallow a little harder, then you know, so be it. Yeah, it's you know, if you got to give her another couple and we can keep ours the same, that would be better than us taking a further reduction. But we're okay with her getting some of this. The other piece of it is the performance. The thing that excited our director the most was talk of you being able to turn this around in a short period of time, you know, rehabbing in 60 days kind of a thing.
Okay.
So what we would like to do is have the agreement set up to where we forgive the balance of the note upon performance of, say, like 6 months that you have. You know, you had talked 60 days. We don't want to cut it that tight, but you know, whatever you're comfortable with, as far out as 6 months, that it would be on the market for sale in a rehabilitated condition up to FHA standards. Is that something you'd be willing to agree to?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. So basically, the lien would stay in existence, and as soon as you had it rehabbed to that condition is when it would go away. We'd record that, we'd write it off and record it, and if not, if there was a failure to perform, then the consequence would be the lien would stay as is at the full $25,000.
Okay. Well, I think what we'd have to do, Rob, just to make sure that we could get title insurance when we close, is the city would have to release the lien, and then we would attach a new lien with that language, because we've got to wipe out everything that's on there first to make sure she has no ongoing rights to the property. And then would it essentially be a new lien between you and I, or my company and the city, with those terms reestablished and then attached to the title?
Okay.
If you're okay with that.
Yeah, that would work fine.
Okay.
Yep, that's fair. And then I was a little high. Fortunately, I double counted about $500, so there's a little bit lower figure. I'm going to go ahead and send you the email outlining all of the exact dollar amounts that I know of, and then if you wouldn't mind just responding to that with with your offer as you understand it, and that's what I'll get authorized as long as it matches what we talked about.
Okay.
And then I'll get to work on Acme and see if I can bring that to resolution in time for you to actually be specific about that.
Okay. And is the city still wanting to close by next Friday?
We're open to that soon. If you can make that happen, yeah.
Okay.
You know, like I say, if it's impossible, then we'd rather it take another week or two than have it fall apart. So.
Okay. All right. Well, at this point, I sent everything over to the title company today just so they can pull title and see what all liens are there. And I know you've given me an exhaustive list, but I just need to know what they are going to be concerned with from a title insurance standpoint.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So she's going to be, you'll probably be getting a call from Alyssa or Gustafson Law on some payoffs, just so we can include those in the title report. Are you okay, Rob, if I give them your contact info?
You go right ahead.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. All right.
I'll either get it for them or have somebody get it to them, either way. There is one old lien on there that we know of that our city attorney believes is stale. That it looks like it was for a gym membership or something like that. It was a $6,000 or $7,000 lien, 12 or 14 years out, and so he wasn't concerned with it. But you would obviously want to verify that yourself.
Okay.
And I have that listed. I didn't list it to you yesterday because I don't think they get anything. I think they're wiped out anyway. So.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if they include that in Schedule B under exceptions. I'd be surprised if they don't insure around it just because it's been so long ago, but that'll come as we get the title or the report on it. Okay, so you're going to send, next steps then, Rob, you're going to send me an email outlining the terms as you know them, and I'm going to respond, yes, that's my understanding. Is that what you want?
Actually, I'm going to send you all the amounts if you would write up your terms as you understand them.
Okay. And do you want?
It was. I mean, basically, it's $6,000 to us and 6 plus to her. I don't really care.
Okay.
If you ended up going higher, then I guess I'm okay.
Okay.
And then the 3 to Acme, and other than that, we're good.
Well, when we talked yesterday, there was still the 2504, which was the police department. I assume that's still on there. I'd have to take care of that. And then,
sorry. And then and now it's 1,800, not 22.
Okay.
To the code enforcement.
Okay.
The one where I was off.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah. Shoot.
That'll be lit nice too.
And do you want me to send over my response in a formal purchase and sale agreement, or just a bulleted email of understanding?
Oh, I mean, ideally, probably our attorneys would be. You know, we do this. It's not a sale agreement for us, so no. I think a bulleted letter is fine. I've agreed to a short sale reduction in payoffs via an email before, so that should be satisfactory.
Okay. Okay. All right, great. Yeah, shoot me that over, and then I'll get it over to you.
All right, Lee, and let's see. I have Jared's email address. I don't think I received. You were also going to send me the copy of the purchase agreement. It's somewhat moot at this point, but I wouldn't mind seeing it.
Okay.
But what's your email?
It's Lee, L-E-E, the number 1, at COGO, that's Kogo, Charlie Oscar, Go Oscar, Kogo Capital, KogoCapital.com.
Okay. I'll have that email over to you shortly. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate the call.
All right. Cross our fingers. Good luck with Jeanette. You'll need it, but again, you catch her in a mood, and also just food for thought or something to keep in the back of your mind. The seed that I planted with her, I had Bob Cook take a look at this if we were to foreclose, I wanted to just his opinion on what the value might be, and he thought it would only sell for close to 100, so you're right on there, and yet he thought we could fetch about 30 for it. And so when I told Jeanette that and told her that maybe we would kick her a couple $1,000 just so that she netted something, she said it wasn't worth the time for her. But like I say, a little reality check. I think this will be a little closer to what I've already planted that seed. So.
Okay. Well, and I spoke with her earlier today, just kind of planting the seed that the city is, Rob's checking to see if we can get some movement here. They're not real excited about you getting 12, so we may have to give you less, and she went off the handle.
Okay, so you know what's coming then. So yeah. I will definitely wish you luck then, and let me know how that goes too.
Okay, I'll give you a full report after I meet with her.
All right, good deal.
All right, thanks, Rob. Have a great day. Okay, bye-bye.
Wow, that was cool. You guys don't often get to hear this stuff live fire. What'd you learn from that call? Anything? Yeah, that is the local, guys, that's the city of Spokane that just agreed to take a $19,000 reduction off of what they're owed because this house is in such bad shape. They just want somebody that's got a track record to come in and buy it and clean it up. So hopefully, I apologize for taking that call during our time here together, but I did it because I hoped it would be beneficial for you. So hopefully you learned something there. Yeah, Vicki, the city is willing to negotiate. Now, I didn't know that until my call with Rob yesterday. Did you know that guy? No, Vicki, my first phone call with him was yesterday, so didn't know him from Adam. Deanne says, a well-run city will work with you to clear up the pain for them. Yeah, I mean, this house, and you guys, I'll take you by it if we've closed by the time you get out here on the 4th. I'll take you by it because this house is really, really something to see, let me tell you. It is nasty. In fact, let me show you. I think I've got a photo here of the exterior. But I'm really hoping, guys, that through this, and one of the reasons I even started investing pretty aggressively again is I felt like these stories, these experiences, and these realities were helpful for you to see the process and how these deals actually come together. Let's see here. I'm getting closer. Here we go. Okay, here it is. You can see it's not a bad house. Here is the front of it. Okay, it's yellow. It doesn't really come through there. You can see it's all boarded up, so we had to get permission from the city to unscrew that. Here's the back, and you can see the meter's been pulled, and that's what the municipality lien is for. Here is the back porch area going in. We're going to have to put the new meter and reattach that. Your gas is still attached. You can see the roof's not in bad shape there. And this house has actually been moved, which is kind of cool about this house. It was an old Victorian rambler over on the river. But when the city came in and put in the dam, they actually jacked this house up, and they moved it and set it on a new foundation. So you're seeing this is all brand new foundation under here. It's only about 20 years old since they moved the house. And then here I'm taking a picture of the screw bit so that when I went back out there I could get myself in. Okay, I use my camera phone a lot. Anyway, yeah, it's not bad looking, Don. I agree with you. It's not a bad looking house from the outside. And now with the numbers, so we're paying 6. So here's what we're now going to be into this place. We will be into it 6 plus 12, unless I can get that down lower, plus 3 plus 1,800 plus, we'll call it 2 plus 3. So I'm going to be into this thing now 26,000. Why does that keep doing that? 6 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2. Yeah, 26 grand. Not too bad. Oh, 22. Thanks, Vicki. Yeah, not a bad house. So cool. That's great news, guys. Glad you were able to join me for that. Okay, let's get back here, and I'm going to wrap up. I apologize, we're running long, but we had a lot to cover here today. Any questions, guys, before we part company here in just a moment? Make sure you give me your questions. Okay, so again, we were doing screen grabs before that call. So here's the first screen grab. Go ahead and screen grab it. Number 2. And here comes slide number 3. Okay, so these are what you will need. These are what you will need to submit a loan to COGO. Okay. All right. So property requirements. You know what? Forget the screen grabbing, guys. I'm just going to have Cheryl email this out to you so you have it. That'll speed this up. Non-owner occupancy only. Property type: single-family, duplex, triplex, fourplex condos. 1 year of hazard insurance. Third-party independent appraisals. Property must be habitable. Loan to value cannot exceed 65 to 80. Now, guys, these are pretty standard underwriting and loan criteria. Don says, who orders the appraisal, me or COGO? Don, what happens is we will submit a request for an appraisal to a third party. That third party will then send you an email and ask you to pay, okay? So from you paying, then the appraisal guy goes out there, and then they get that back to us within 3 to 7 days, and then we do the rest of the loan. Okay. Now, getting back to this is pretty standard boilerplate underwriting criteria, guys. But as Lee's Inner Circle students, you guys really have you live in a world of special favors. Simply because you are working directly with me, it's a very small handful of people that have the privilege of doing that throughout the year. So it's less than 25. So we will bend over backwards to help you guys if the deal makes sense, but the deal does have to make sense, okay? All right, well, man, if you can believe it, guys, it's only 2 weeks away. That's awesome. I'm excited for you to be here. We got a lot of cool stuff going on here in the Spokane Coeur d'Alene market, and I'm excited to share it with you and show you how to get your business up and running in this capacity as well. So mark your calendar, November 4th, 5th, and 6th. Also, you do need to be paid in full before you get out here. So I know some of you have set up payment plans. Those need to be taken care of before you get out here unless you have made special arrangements with Surge or with our accounting department, which I don't think anybody has. Otherwise, make sure you get on the phone with Surge and take care of your balance at 800-341-9918. Last chance here, guys. Before I go, are there any questions? Any last-minute questions about the offer writing process, the 3-tiered offer, how we go about doing the due diligence of My First Am to Zillow to writing the offer? We have covered a lot of ground here today. And if you don't have any questions, please give me some feedback. Was today helpful? What did you learn? What was the most helpful aspect of it? What got you pumped up and excited? I'm not seeing any questions, so go ahead and leave those remarks before you sign off out of here, guys, and I will see you here in Spokane in exactly 2 weeks from today. So happy travels, guys. Drive safe. God bless you, and we will see you all soon. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day.